You come a long way, traveller. Not every day you find someone out here by the river. Come, I was just about to take a short rest. Why don't you join us? Put out a nice stew and tell stories of revelry, competition, companionship, whatever your heart desires, my friend. In fact, I think I may have a story in mind. Mobamba.
Your mama had trauma.
Mobamba head trauma. Awesome, cool. Man, welcome to the Short Rest Podcast.
Welcome to the short rest. Welcome to Head Trauma.
Welcome to Head Trauma, the podcast.
Welcome to CTE, the podcast.
Awesome. Well, me and you have done a podcast episode before. Let's bring that back up.
Yeah.
We did one before. Yeah. So this is just making up for lost time. Because that's not a lost episode now. I legit cannot recover the file if I want to.
That is unfortunate.
But
that is unfortunate.
Good news about that though is I don't remember what the fuck we talked about on that podcast, so we can. So
I think it was mostly me telling you stories about campaigns.
Yes, I think it was. Which I'm now technically a part of now.
Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's get right onto that. So you're a player. Obviously you play Bellamy in Horizons.
Yeah.
In my opinion, one of the best and one of the worst characters in the party. One of the best because the way you play him is perfect, but one of the worst because, spoiler alert, because you killed one of your other players' dads. So
I did. That is something I did. In my defense, though, I did it to bring him back.
Yeah,
I did it to bring Sir back to life.
Yeah, let's get an exclusive though on that. So you were given two options. So why did you choose to murder someone's father in cold blood?
Okay. So that was Bellamy's idea originally. Was you had made me roll a check to see if there was anything I could do. Because I had been like, I'm a reborn. Is there anything that could allow me to do to bring him back to life? Mm-hmm. And you had me roll a check.
Yeah.
You're basically like, hey, you've got a powerful devil and a powerful demon here. You could probably figure something out. You just need a soul in exchange.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, oh, we could kill Sir's dad. And then you as Empty were like, hey, what if you let me have 75% of your soul? And I immediately went no, and I killed Sir's dad.
No hesitation. Didn't even let Empty finish his thoughts. You just killed Frederick.
Yeah. So in Bellamy's head, Empty is an unknown variable. Bellamy had never planned on even knowing that Empty existed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not, and Bellamy's already beholden to other supernatural forces. He already has a patron.
Yeah. And
so now he's in a situation where he has two patrons and each of them own 50% of his soul.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for Bellamy, it was like a devil you know moment versus the devil you don't.
Yep.
Like he at least knows more about his original patron than he does about Empty.
Right.
And so Empty having like majority shares of his soul was in Bellamy's opinion, not a great idea.
Yeah. The logic makes sense.
Yeah.
But
and Bellamy as a very selfish and cowardly person was like, I'd rather kill this guy than let this unknown entity be able to pretty much freely tell me what to do.
I just didn't know how
more than he already can.
I just didn't know how far you were gonna go with like when you told me that like, oh, I'm gonna play a guy who sold his soul to the devil and he's gonna help, conquer whatever we're doing. And I was like, okay, sure. He probably and then he probably won't go too far though. And then I think it was the session before that where you manhandled the priest.
Yeah, the session in my let me go through my thought process with the priest as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just talk about the steps that we took to get to that point.
Yeah.
Adavesta
Yep.
had walked into a shop that happened to be owned by one of the other PCs, by Saffron.
Mm-hmm.
They found a wild magic blunt.
Yep.
They proceeded to eat the wild magic blunt before they had even bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And then everywhere they stood started a fire.
Yep.
And then Mephits started leaping out of that fire.
And suddenly Mephits.
Bellamy goes in trying to do his job to save people, and he kills one and then immediately goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And then for a brief flicker, he comes back to life, back to consciousness, to find his mouth being flooded by water. And he drowns and goes back he falls back unconscious and is making death saves for a second time.
That is still my favorite fucking clip.
It is mine too. It's so funny. I do love that it happened. I am so happy that happened because that is something I will remember forever.
I think what made it more funny was the moment leading up to it, where you were so close to the mic being like, if you do mouth to mouth, I swear to God.
I was literally just being like, please be normal. This is my character. Please be normal.
And then he just like,
please be normal. And then they tried to do CPR with water in their mouths. Water that they were gonna spit on the fire to try and put it out.
Yeah, I think an underappreciated moment that had me dying was like, we cut over to Julian's turn. It's Sir's turn. And the first thing he says is like, you didn't even put out the fire. Just like in the most defeated voice ever. Just like,
you didn't even put out the fire.
You didn't even try.
No, in Tony's defense, they did try.
They tried.
You just were like, hey, you gotta pick one.
Yeah, I did.
And they picked drowning me.
Okay, so no, yes, I did have them pick one. But they chose themselves to have Spare the Dying be administered through mouth to mouth.
You know, they picked, you gave them two options and they picked option 3. You were like, here's option 1 and 2, and they were like, I'm actually gonna take 3.
And option 3 is a combination of the both, but not really.
Yeah, in a combination of the both, but it results in neither of them working.
Do fucking nothing.
Yeah, they do both things, but they negate each other. Yeah, so
back on the priest.
So that's what happened.
Back on the priest.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So the fight ends eventually with and 2 people are dead. Bellamy now ends up like becoming beholden to an imp demon thing that he didn't know existed, and so now he's having to grapple with the fact that he now is beholden to that there's this entity who has 50% of his soul, and he has no idea what like at least with his original patron, he has a goal that he was given. He knows what's expected of him and what he needs to do to stay in their good graces. With Empty, he has no idea what Empty's about.
Yeah, no
clue whatsoever. And so he's dealing with that, and then Adavesta fucking steps on a nail or some bullshit, and then pulls it out of their foot and throws it backwards, and it lands in some dude's eye. Yeah. You remember the nail? Because I remember the nail.
Yeah, me rolling the D100 to see where that nail went, because the whole point of Adavesta's character is like they're like Xavier Renegade Angel. For those who don't know, you don't know what it is really, but basically
at this point I'm just assuming wild magic monk.
So Xavier Renegade Angel is just a batshit insane show from Adult Swim that had like,
I gathered that.
Yeah, it is complete and utter nonsense. Adavesta, for granted, is a watered down version of that, but watering down Xavier is like doing like, it's just taking out all the explicit material, you know? And
okay. Yeah.
And what we agreed on is that like they said, dude, just have a bunch of random shit happen to my guy, and that's Xavier. And so I was like, okay, I'll roll a D100 every time you do something that seems inconsequential, but will lead up into something either
that becomes consequential.
that becomes better or worse. And you know, with the meth,
it was very fun to watch happen.
Yeah, and out of us throwing the nail behind him, and I was like, well, that nail is now gonna stick in someone's eyeball.
So that happened, and then they started talking to a priest. We hogtied Adavesta, honestly, just so we could make progress in advancing the plot by that point. Mm-hmm. Just so we could go and do the thing finally. And the priest and Adavesta convinces the priest to cast bless on them to try and to get out of the hogtie. And Bellamy, by this point, has had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Bellamy has had enough. And so he shakes the priest, to try and get them to, not to try and hurt them, just to try and get them to lose concentration on the bless.
Right.
Because I did tell the priest not to help Adavesta. I told them not to. That a commander of the guard was like, hey, don't help them. This has to happen. And they chose to help them. So I shook the priest.
Drop it!
Yes.
Into the outside world,
I shook the priest
and to other guards, it was like, oh my god, the commander's gone fucking crazy.
It is like you would only understand it if you had been with Bellamy the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And not a single person in the party had been with Bellamy the entire time. Like, Bellamy was with different characters at different times throughout all of that.
Right.
So each character would only know a piece of it, but not the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was, truly to everyone, Bellamy was just going batshit crazy. Bellamy crashed out. Yeah. Bellamy did just crash out.
I'm glad you admit it. You know?
Yeah, I know. In the moment was like, I think Bellamy needs to crash out. For Seb's sanity, Bellamy has to crash out.
That was just you.
For just like a minute.
You were just trying to channel all that fucking, like, what the hell is going on, and you channeled that through Bellamy.
Yeah.
And onto that priest.
Yeah. So shook the priest, they dropped concentration, and we moved on. We moved on with what was going on.
And nothing happened.
And nothing happened. Until Sir died.
Until Sir died. Yeah.
Dude, that session as well, though, was like or both those sessions, really. That session and the one after were the two sessions where I feel like I really played Bellamy. For real played Bellamy.
You know.
And it was very fun for me. Because I was doing weird satanic rituals to communicate with my patron.
Mm-hmm.
And I killed a guy, and then I did another weird satanic ritual to revive a different guy with the dead guy's soul.
Yeah. I really felt like my character, you know, I got to kill a guy.
Yeah, I got to kill a guy. I got to kill a guy, maybe kill the guy. And I might kill more people.
I ran over a dog. I really feel like my character today. I got to run over a dog.
Yeah, I killed a character in game as my character. I killed someone in real life. What? So I feel like I'm relating to it. Wait. Could you imagine? Could you imagine on a podcast I admit to murder? That would be crazy.
Yeah. So Seb's address is 128.
You got the first number right.
Oh. Well, I feel like that's like the most common number on any address.
You're not wrong. It probably is.
Scare the shit out of somebody by typing the first digit of their address. More than likely, you'll get it right. I'm about to...
Hey, man, there's only 9 possible numbers.
Yeah. Like on a social security card, there's only like, what, 10 or 8 numbers?
There's 3, then 2, so 5, and then another 4, so 9. Yeah,
yeah.
9.
I was right, I was far off.
I only know it because I do have my social security number memorized. So in my head, I was saying my social security number out loud.
Oh, I feel like that's one of the things...
In my head, not out loud, but like in my head, I was saying it.
I feel like that's one of the things I should memorize, but I don't. I don't have it memorized yet.
I need to memorize my license plate number.
Yeah. I don't.
That would probably be a good thing to memorize.
You drive a car, fucking loser.
I do drive a car, and I am in fact a loser.
Well, you know. Can you imagine you're roasting the shit out of somebody and they're like, "You're right." Just the steam that leaves you afterwards.
That's what Eminem did in the 8 Mile movie.
Oh yeah.
He was just like, "Yeah, I am all these things. Now talk." He was like, "You let me go first, so I'm gonna just insult myself. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna insult myself, and then I'm gonna insult you. And I already said all the things you were gonna say, so fuck you."
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
And it was funny.
And it worked.
It did.
He was like,
in the movie, it worked.
He was like, "Well, what the fuck am I gonna do now? I guess
he was.
I guess I go home."
Yeah, he didn't say anything.
Purse snatcher comes up. "Give me your fucking money." You shoot yourself. What's the guy gonna do?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Shoot me? I shot myself 5 minutes ago because I knew this was gonna happen. I need to go to the hospital.
Because I knew it was gonna happen.
I first saw it. I used my portent.
Oh, yeah, we are a D&D podcast. I forgot. So,
we are, aren't we?
Yeah. Let's rewind it a little bit. So we were talking about like so far the most insane moment in the campaign being not even like all the devil's shit, just the whole water CPR thing.
Adavesta.
Yeah,
just Adavesta. Just pretty much everything Adavesta did at all times.
Can you remember a moment in anything that you've run that like can kind of compare to that, or is that like a once in a lifetime thing that you've experienced?
I once got my BBEG killed on its own turn.
Interesting.
Well, what had happened was it was the Strixhaven campaign I told you about, my first campaign ever.
Yes.
And the BBEG was a wizard that cast a spell that missed, and it was an attack roll, so it literally missed. And one of the players had an ability that let them, as a reaction, attack when an attack missed them, and they killed him because that character was a rogue. And the way sneak attack is worded is it's once per turn, not once per round.
Yeah.
So if you, like, as a reaction make an attack, you can sneak attack on that attack as well. So they did shit tons of damage on my turn and killed me, my BBEG.
I'm noticing a lack of CPR and water in this story. No, but
there is a lack of CPR and water.
That is insane.
It is. It was very funny.
That's like a fun little mechanical beat, though. Like the player killing the bad guy on its own turn. I feel like that's just fun.
Yeah,
you know,
it was very funny to us because it happened. I was like, "Holy shit, he's fucking dead!" And then the players are like, "Oh my god!" They had that moment of like, "Holy shit, we did the cool thing and we did it on their turn." It was very fun.
And now you're DMing for me in this Baldur's Gate campaign that I'm now a part of. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Started at level 17, or level 16, played one session, now you're level 17.
Yep. And I didn't think at first like how big that affected me. I was like, okay, we're level 17, we're just high level people. And then I got 2 crits.
No, that's a lot.
I got 2 crits on the dragon that you had us fight, and you were like, okay, so here's what happens.
Not only did you crit the dragon twice, but you were playing a paladin rogue multi-class. So not only did you crit, but you also smited and sneak attacked it.
Yeah.
And doubled all of those dice as well as the normal weapon dice.
So
it's even crazier than just, oh, I critted twice. I critted twice, and I had a 3rd level smite, and I had like 5 d6s from sneak attack.
And I think me like asking like, this dragon isn't like undead or radiant, is he? I could feel like a blood vessel like kind of pop, just like, why the fuck would you need that to be the case? You did it.
It's a dragon.
You did it.
That was a fun fight though.
I will never forgive you for taking away my +3 shield.
It'll become +3 again eventually.
Eventually, but I had that now. I had it now and
It'll be fine.
it'll be fine, yeah. At least it's connected to Bahamut.
It does other things now. You literally can't be knocked prone, period, full stop.
Well, damn, alright. No.
You don't need the extra armor class. You just can't go prone.
That is so funny, though, because in that same fight where I 2-critted the dragon, I was getting my shit rocked, like, in that first moment.
Yeah.
You killed my steed.
The dragon was knocking people prone.
You killed my steed, you had me knocked prone, and you just fucking blasted me with damage.
I did do that.
You did do that, yeah.
I did do that.
I could feel it.
But yeah, I figured the prone thing would be pretty cool to give to someone as well, the anti-prone shield, whatever. Because a lot of dragons have legendary actions that are literally like, hey, I flap my wings, now everyone within X distance is prone.
A great weapon to fight a bunch of dragons with.
Yeah.
And it's also
called like wing flap or some bullshit.
And it's also connected to my backstory. You know, because
it is connected to Bahamut. It literally has a picture of a dragon on it.
Yeah. My god. Grimgak is so far my favorite character that I've played.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that because he's the highest level character that you've played as well?
Well, with me, it's like no competition, right? If I had to like pick a handful of favorites, it would be Grimgak, a Warforged sorcerer that I played called Caster, and Justin. You know?
Okay.
Just actual characters I got to play.
Fair enough.
Well, I guess it's not true. I also liked playing Jekyll in my other friend's campaign, the Tiefling Bard, you know.
Okay.
Well, they were Tiefling.
My favorite character is also a bard. Actually, you've met my favorite character that I've played because they're an NPC in Baldur's Gate. Twilight.
Yeah.
Twilight was the character I played in part 2 of Strixhaven when I became a player and my friend took over as DM.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah. So what had happened was so Twilight's backstory was that so she's a bard multi-class into wild magic sorcerer. And so her backstory was like she had been in a town, her wild magic went insane and basically nuked the town, and then she ended up like accidentally traveling through dimensions until she got to the plane that Strixhaven was on. And met the party. And so that happened like at the very end of their final fight for part 1 of the campaign. It was like the very last thing was that Twilight appeared, and then we transitioned after a couple weeks of our break to let my friend play in part 2. We transitioned into part 2, and I played Twilight. And Twilight's Twilight's goal basically was to try and figure out a way to control her magic. Was basically she was a wild magic sorcerer that didn't want to wild magic surge anymore. Okay.
Because she kept accidentally hurting or killing people with it.
Makes sense.
Like even like it happened in game once. Because there was this evil guild that we had infiltrated pretty much that we were trying to bring down from the inside. And they had given us a task to go and meet with someone in a tavern. And so we needed to cause a distraction so we could bring them around back and do our thing. And me being the bard, I was like, I could be a great distraction. So I walked into the bar, and this is what I said to my DM. I said, I want to go and find 2 people that look like they're a couple.
Okay.
And so he had me make like an investigation check that I passed. And so I found this guy and this girl that looked like they were a couple. And then I walked over and basically started being like, "Oh, you're with another woman," that like basically trying to insinuate that the dude was cheating when I'd never met these people before.
Oh no.
Again, to cause a distraction. And Seb in real life got too into it. And I said, all right, I cast Adine's Furious Fist and I punch him.
Wow.
It's Adine's Furious Fist, for those who don't know, is a spell that as a bonus action you can cast it, and then it makes your unarmed strikes or you can take your action to make a magical unarmed strike. It deals a D10 plus your spellcasting modifier damage.
A dimension
And
20
so I did
spell.
that, and then yeah. I cast that, and then I punched the guy, and then my dungeon master said, "Roll in the wild magic surge table," because we had homebrewed it that instead of so normal wild magic surge by default is like when you cast a level sorcerer spell, you roll a d20. Then if you roll a natural one, your wild magic surges.
Mhm.
A lot of people use a homebrew rule where like if you don't wild magic surge, the number you need to hit gets higher.
Yeah, I
So
use
it goes
that.
from 1 to 2, then 3 to 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, until eventually you automatically have to wild magic surge.
Right. Well, I'm guessing.
What we were doing was
Okay.
we were doing no rolls. It's just if the dungeon master wanted me to wild magic surge, I wild magic surged.
Oh, so it was in his hands.
Yeah. So he said roll in the wild magic surge table, and the number or the option that I rolled was that I dealt 1d10 damage to every necrotic damage to everyone within 30 feet of me.
God.
For reference, normal civilians have like 4 hit points.
Yeah.
I rolled max.
Jesus.
So I killed everyone in that bar on accident. I killed everyone in the tavern on accident.
God damn. You were just trying to cause a distraction. Yeah.
I was trying to cause a distraction, and I killed everybody on accident. That's what happened. So we had to flee the town. Fortunately, by the time I killed everybody, the rest of the party had finished their task.
Mm-hmm.
And so we then had to flee the tavern. And not just the tavern, but the city entirely.
I fucking beefed him.
Because,
let's go.
Yeah, because I was wanted.
Yeah. I don't have time to explain.
So
let's go.
That's another that's another thing that me and my party will always remember. It's because it was just it was not at all intended. All I wanted to do was cause a scene, and I accidentally killed everybody, which just led more credence to my backstory of accidentally exploding and murdering people, and just led more credence to the reason why I wanted to stop being a wild magic sorcerer and find a way to control my magic.
That is honestly a cool moment that tied well into your backstory, but I feel like that is more your Adavesta water CPR moment. You just wanted to.
No, it is. It 100% is. It 100% is.
Oh, I'll cause a distraction.
I had a. No, go on. Yeah.
I'll cause a distraction. Oh, I have to roll a wild magic surge? Alright, no problem. You cast fireball centered on yourself. Dude, I could have. You know what options I could have rolled? I could have gotten older or younger. I could have turned blue. I could have turned into a potted plant. I could have reversed gravity, which would have been a little harmful, but they could have survived that. No, you had to pick
Instead,
the
I rolled
worst
one
option.
of the few things that would have killed. Yeah, instead, I somehow managed to roll one of the few things that killed everybody within 30 feet of me.
Honestly, it would have been.
It was crazy.
That is like a really fucked moment, but imagine that you did get the fireball thing, and they were just coming back from their mission, just like, man, I bet they caused a really cool distraction, and it's just the tavern on fire.
The tavern's gone.
It's gone.
Everyone in there has been turned to ash, and it's just me standing in the center like, I don't know what to do about this.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what to do. It was fucking wild, dude. But yeah, so that was one of the many incidents that happened. I also intentionally slaughtered a bunch of druids because they had tricked me into thinking that they were puppies, and then they stole all my shit.
Oh.
So I threw several fireballs at them.
Oh my god.
And they all died. They all died. I killed all of them. I by myself slaughtered an entire circle of druids because they robbed me. Because they made me think they were puppies, and then when I went to sleep cuddling the puppies, they turned back into the normal people that they were and stole all my shit. So I killed them. They deserved it.
What was their plan?
I don't know. Steal my shit while I was sleeping. Unfortunately for them, I woke up, caught up to them, and then fireballed them.
They turned back into humans and then stole your shit.
Because they were dogs. Dogs don't have opposable thumbs, brother.
They have jaws? What were they?
How much do you think they could hold? They were puppies. They were small. How much do you think they can hold in there?
I don't know. He's just fucking with me. Just like you said you were cuddling the puppies in bed too. So like when they went back to human form, was it?
Well, not in bed, but we were in the woods camping at the time.
But still, you were just.
So we weren't like I didn't like bring them home.
Okay.
We were just in the woods.
And,
But I killed them.
yeah, you killed. I was. Yeah. You kill them while they're still in puppy form, and the plot twist is they were always puppies.
Dude, that's not even the most fucked part about that. At some point previously, in a previous session, I had rolled wild magic, and I rolled the option that was like you roll a d10, and then your age, if it's even, your age increases by that much, and if it's odd, your age decreases by that much. I rolled a 9.
Ooh.
My character was Twilight was originally 18.
And then
so she was 9 years old when she did that.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were just
she didn't mentally de-age. She just looked like she was 9.
Yeah.
But to any passerby, it looked like a 9-year-old threw fireballs at a pack of druids and killed them all.
Like a 9-year-old killed a herd of puppies.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
and then so what ended up causing Twilight to end up in the Baldur's Gate campaign was we were given a task to go and kill someone who was at the time considered to be the right hand of Vecna. And this character had been an NPC that I had introduced in Strixhaven Part 1. And the party had basically treated him sort of like a guinea pig in some ways. Like they would bring him along and they'd be like, "All right, you go test this out." Because it was all of our first campaigns pretty much. If it wasn't our first, it was our second. So everybody at the table was new to the game. And so for them, the NPC wasn't a real breathing person. It was like, oh, this is a random person that doesn't really matter. And so there was a time they had gone into this like so Strixhaven is a magic college basically.
Yeah.
On the campus of Strixhaven, there's a like wooded, swampy area that they had gone in to explore for some reason. And this wasn't stated in the module, but I had made it so that there was like a hedge barrier that separated the swampy area from the outside of the border of the campus. So if they went through the hedge, it would be technically considered off campus.
Ooh. And
they wanted to know, and it was against the rules to leave campus. And I had told them that the area around the campus was like a super dry desert area.
Yeah.
And they wanted to fuck around and find out. And so they got to the hedge and they pushed this NPC through.
Oh.
Through the hedge. And they were like, "All right, what's over there?" And he didn't respond. They were like, "Hello?" And he didn't respond. So they eventually pushed their way through to find his exsanguinated body. That was my moment of teaching them, like, hey, fuck around, you will find out. I will kill all your NPCs. And you will feel bad about it, because it will be your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah.
And so basically what had happened is the BBEG of Part 1 was a servant of Vecna. And so when they pushed him through, he had come, sucked the soul out of the body, and then teleported away. And later on, he was resurrected by Vecna as a warlock in service of Vecna, because Vecna had his soul, and had planned on using him to resurrect himself. And so the party in Part 2 had to go and kill him. And my buddy, who was DMing Part 2, was like, "Oh, they have to go kill this person that they considered to be their friends.
Yeah.
The NPCs will need to test them." And so my buddy was in Part 1. He played a character in Part 1 that he then killed off 3 sessions into Part 2.
Oh.
And it was very sad. He got eaten by a dragon.
Yeah.
And so the NPCs decided to test the party, and they resurrected his previous character. And we had to fight and kill him a second time. He was like, "Hey, the character that I played throughout all of Part 1, that I killed off, kill him again. Kill him again.
Do it again.
And so we did. We killed him again. And Twilight had a very visceral reaction to it because it was the first time Twilight had killed someone on purpose.
Yeah.
Like up until that point, every combat that we had was against monsters. It wasn't against people. So it felt different. And even in Twilight let me be clear, she was a mass murderer, but not on purpose.
Yeah.
She was actively trying to find a way to stop doing shit like that. And so it also felt different in that aspect as well, because this was intentional and it was killing a person, not a monster.
Right.
And she had a very visceral reaction that caused her to decide to leave the party. And it wasn't the only reason why. We also at the time had been sort of tracking down the Hand and Eye of Vecna. And Twilight had started doing research on them. And she was starting to believe that they could be an answer to her problem. And Seb realized was like, if the DM gives me the opportunity to gank the Hand or Eye, I'm using them to try and fix my shit. And that might fuck the party.
Yeah.
And so I myself had that realization that, if he puts me in that situation, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna. And so when I realized it, that means Twilight also realized that she would be willing to betray the party potentially to fix her own problem. And so she ended up deciding to leave the party, and she plane shifted away. She left it. She had the settings well. She sent messages to the other members of the party being like, "Hey, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
See ya." It was more heartfelt than that, but it's just the abbreviated version because I don't remember what exactly I said. This was like 3 or 4 years ago at this point, I think.
Yeah, no, but I can understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I plane shifted away, I told the DM, I was like, I'm not gonna pick a place to go. I think the way I said it was that I think for the first time Twilight wills her wild magic to take over and send her truly anywhere. She doesn't care where she's going. She just wants to be somewhere else. And so we, for a while, hadn't figured out where she had gone. And I started playing a different character that later died because I pissed in a pyramid and then touched an altar.
Okay.
Just let that one sink in.
In what? The piss?
Basically. Yeah, I guess. Technically. What had happened was the party had been exploring. We found these 3 pyramids. We went into the pyramids and found in the top level there was a hole in the middle, and we decided to just start pouring liquid down the hole.
And then you pissed in it.
Well, I didn't piss in it first.
Okay.
We had an alchemy jug at the time. So first we threw mayo in it.
Okay.
So we poured mayo in the first and second one, and then we ran out of mayo because the alchemy jug can only make a limited amount of gallons of each substance, and you have to pick a substance each day.
Right.
So the alchemy jug was used up for the day. We still had to pour something in the hole of the 3rd pyramid. So me and my buddy looked at each other. We started pissing in the hole. We just started pissing in the hole.
Verbal confirmation. You're like, yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much. We were like, hey DM, we piss in this hole.
We piss in the hole. And it was like you had to.
It worked. It did work.
And wasn't like you had to
what ended up
in like a sort of like you needed to do it to progress the plot, or was it like we had to, just like we
did not have to. We didn't. No, we didn't. We didn't, but we did.
It's like we poured a bunch of mayo down the hole because we had to,
It's like we ran out of mayo. You gave us a hole.
We're gonna pour a bunch of mayonnaise and piss into it.
We did that. Yeah, so we did that. And it ended up uncovering an altar that me and my little neurodivergent brain went, I want to lay on top of it. I don't want to investigate it. I don't want to make any checks. I want to lay down on it.
And then you died.
And I died.
Yeah.
It basically, what happened was it connected me to Vecna mentally, and then Vecna basically power word killed me.
Awesome. Just
Sort of. What happened was he put me immediately into death saves,
Mm.
and I failed all of them.
damn.
As I deserved. I did see this creepy looking altar, and instead of making any kind of check about it, I chose to lay on it without making any rolls.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah, basically. I'm gonna take a nap on this Vecna altar, and it's gonna go great. It didn't.
I'm tired.
So yeah. So I did fully die. And so the rest of the party were like, that's a problem. We gotta go find help.
Yeah.
And one of the members had a portable hole, I think it was. So they just started using the portable hole to try and get to a dimension where there was someone that could help.
Mm-hmm.
And Twilight knew Revivify, so we were like, oh, if we figure out what dimension Twilight's in, we could have her come here and Revivify, and then she wants to leave again, she can't. So at that point, we rolled randomly to figure out where Twilight was.
Yeah.
And she was in Avernus, turns out. Turns out she made it to Avernus.
Mm-hmm.
And we, at this point, had already started the Baldur's Gate Descended to Avernus module.
Yeah.
We were already playing through that. We were doing a week each. So one week we would play Strixhaven, the next week we would play Baldur's Gate. So it was like a super mega, like, because we rolled randomly.
Yeah.
And it was a gigantic coincidence that she ended up being in Avernus where the other campaign was taking place.
So it was like that big crossover.
Yeah. And so I went, fuck it. They never got to Avernus. We ended up going to Mount Celestia where they revivified my character.
Mm-hmm.
We went to literal actual heaven to find hell. But
you gotta find heaven to find hell.
And so after that happened, I was like, I guess Twilight's in Avernus, where the Baldur's Gate party is.
And we're playing Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I guess she's an NPC now. And then she got her head crushed by Zariel. And then she got revivified after.
Mm-hmm.
That did happen. I had planned for the Zariel fight to be like the end of Twilight.
Yeah.
And then I forget whose character it was, but one of the characters knew Revivify, and they were just like, oh, Twilight's dead? Revivify. And I was like, okay, fine.
It's like, fine. All right.
It's like, okay. Because what I had thought of, because my inspiration for Twilight as an NPC, and what her story would look like as an NPC,
mm-hmm.
would be like a story that did not have a satisfying ending. Like once I decided she was going to be an NPC, I started thinking about what direction I wanted her to go in. I was like, I don't think I really want Twilight's ending to be satisfying. Because realistically, most people don't get a satisfying end. You know,
yeah.
Like in real life, people die, and it's not satisfying for everyone, and it's just sad and it's just painful.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that I kind of wanted that to be Twilight's story. Like, she never actually achieved her goal, and she died in a place where she didn't know anybody without anybody that really cared for her. Because she didn't know the Baldur's Gate party for very long before they fought Zariel.
Right.
Yeah. And then they were like, Revivify, and I was like, all right, never mind then, I guess.
I don't get this story. Fine.
Yeah, I was like, never mind. Sure, pal. Whatever. Sure, I guess she'll be alive again, I guess. And now she's still an NPC, and she yelled at the party in the last session.
Now she's hanging out with a fairy dragon.
Now she is.
Yeah.
She's not going into combat. She's just looking for dragons.
And she called me schizophrenic.
She did.
Yeah.
She did. That was funny.
To be fair,
because you had rolled up talking about a dead god, and she was like, fuck is this guy talking about?
Well, I talked with the party about it first. I didn't really, and then like the town mayor just happened to be there, and I didn't realize that at first. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, fuck. And then they were all talking about like, oh, this fairy dragon, yada yada yada, this and that, and I was like, oh, answers. And you know, it was like, oh, you work for this dragon? I can speak to a dead god, and then I get called schizophrenic, as if. Because in my head, calling me like Grimgax schizophrenic is like yeah, anyone in their right mind probably would have, but this is a level 17 D&D party, and we had just killed a dragon.
You could be schizophrenic in killing dragons.
Yeah, Well, but I'm just saying like that.
In fact, I would argue there's probably some schizophrenic people that believe they killed a dragon in real life.
You know, I killed the dragon behind the Walgreens parking lot. Oh, okay.
Probably.
And then you just look.
Okay, buddy.
You just look back there. They just have an iguana on like a spit roast.
Just a lizard.
I'm eating little dragon meat.
Dragon meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Side tangent. Did you know that like people are legally allowed to kill iguanas in the state of Florida?
I didn't know that that iguanas were a big enough problem that we had to make a law explicitly telling people that they were allowed to kill iguanas.
I think the thing is like it's not like a direct law stating that, but you're not gonna go to jail for mass killing iguanas. But I guess because
I'm building iguana bomb. Kill every iguana.
Because apparently they're an invasive species in the state of Florida.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
And because they kind of like so widespread, it's
get them out.
Yeah. Well, I don't
deport them. Deport every iguana.
Well, when we start using words like that, you know, it's like
make Florida great again.
God.
Get rid of the iguanas.
No. No. Wait a minute, Donald Trump.
I've been here the whole time.
What did you do to Seb?
He never existed.
Fuck.
I fooled you.
Wait, so you played D&D?
Yep.
Oh, I don't want to play anymore.
Make D&D great again.
Okay, well, time to kill you. There's a sniper aiming a gun right at your head.
Don't worry, I'll turn my face a single degree and he'll miss. Just like the last time, it was all planned.
Oh God. Welcome to the short rest. Welcome to the short rest conspiracy podcast.
And you're like, and we're cutting it here.
Oh, look at that! It's already been an hour. Wow.
Dude, it is crazy to me the people that are like that was staged.
It was
even
staged,
though like even though someone died, someone literally died.
Yeah. And no, I won't say that. Anyways. So besides D&D, do you find yourself like playing a lot of other TTRPGs, like excluding like I know the Naruto one that we've played, like literally
the Naruto one is pretty much D&D, just with some stuff changed and some stuff added.
It has a lot of 5e mechanics, but have you ever like thought about touching any other TTRPG?
I have thought about it. I did when the Candela Obscura from Critical Role TTRPG came out. I always thought about running it.
Mm-hmm.
I at this point in my life, I don't really have time to learn a new system if I'm going to run it.
That makes sense.
If it's like if I'm a player and someone else is running it, I'd play in that. I'd try it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't have time to learn a system enough to then run it.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of my.
But I would absolutely love to try new systems.
My mindset exactly with Pathfinder. You know, if I was offered to play a Pathfinder game, I'd be down for it, but I would not have enough time to sit down and break open the core rule books and like get into it. Because apparently,
I mean, in all fairness, I have never opened like the DM's guide for Dungeons and Dragons. My DMing is purely from like content I watched on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
But I watched all that content during a time when I had time to watch that much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before I had employment.
Before I had to do capitalism.
Before I had to be a responsible adult in at least somewhat of a fashion.
Yeah. I remember me prepping for the first ever D&D game and me shooting myself in the foot immediately by making everything homebrew. You know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a homebrew setting, you know? It was like, oh, we can still play as elves and dwarves. No, it was it was a whole setting with tiny insects and lizards, and we just kind of rolled with it. You know?
Fuck it, why not?
Okay, why not? And that.
Fuck it, why not?
And that is secured as one of my best memories because it's like the first time we played D&D, and also the bane of my fucking existence. There was
fair enough.
So much going on at the time, not even with the game, mostly with the game, but also with personal shit that happened around that time. And it was just like, oh my god, get me out of the setting. Let me leave.
Let me leave.
Let me play as a tiefling, all right? I want to be a demon guy.
No, that might be a fun conversation. How our styles for prepping campaigns differ. I think they differ a lot because you run a homebrewed setting and I've only run pre-made settings.
Yes. We've talked about this. You're technically kind of swerving into homebrew with what we're doing right now. You're just like taking.
Kind of, but I'm still in Faerun.
Yeah, you're still in
during
Faerun.
setting dragon layers.
But you're taking us around Faerun, just killing a bunch of dragons. You know, that's not like that's not a module at all. So that's your own thing. But
the setting isn't mine. The setting was a pre-made setting.
Yeah, the setting
I'm just using it. I'm telling a story in it. Whereas with you, you've made your own setting and then also tell a story in that setting.
Yeah. I guess if you want to like get into like the big differences with that, I think the biggest difference is that I don't have everything written out for Tempora, you know? Like with
That's fair.
With Faerun, you know, there's already like this big cataloged history, you know, like you just crack open a few books and you're like, oh, I know the lore of Monitor and that he's actually called Lathander in another setting, which I only know that. I could
crack open books so I could go to Wikipedia for 5 minutes and then calm myself down.
Fair, yeah. But no, I only received that information when I was trying to find names and gods to put into my setting, and I don't even have my full pantheon listed, you know? I have the major gods.
Yeah.
But everything else that's like, because there's like a tip I learned that like you can technically just have one god for every kind of alignment, you know, for every kind of domain and alignment. And that's how I have it set up. I have a table that lists out all the domains, you know, like the arcane domain, the death domain, that kind of stuff, and then all the alignments.
Yeah.
And I have a god for each one. And that table is like 45% done, you know?
Fair enough.
But the building blocks for everything are there, you know? I've always wanted to run this like, ooh, what if the Earth was like Pangea, you know? It was just split off, like the entire world, you know, not just like the one state, the entire globe split apart, and now we just have these floating bits of rock everywhere, kind of creating a bit of a fucking, God, like a rotation? That's not the right word.
Orbit?
An orbit.
Are you looking for orbit?
I'm looking for orbit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is, and now we're doing that.
We're doing it, and you've killed someone's dad. And out of us to spat water.
We haven't even gone to the island yet. I think also at least with me, so the way that I prep a campaign is I know where we're beginning and where we're ending, and then I take it session by session. Like I have so like key plot points. Like I know when I started part 2 for Baldur's Gate, I knew which dragons you guys were gonna fight already, but I hadn't yet figured out how you were gonna get to those dragons, where they would be, or anything like that.
And that part,
kind of. But yeah, I don't. That's for me. That's something that I can worry about later. Like cause that's just the way that I prep campaigns. I just take it a session at a time. And I know where I begin, I know where I end, and then I know at the very least 1 or 2 plot points that I want to hit on the way through. And then I just take it session by session.
That's not too dissimilar to what I kind of do. I have a vague, like, general end goal for every campaign that I run, where it's like, what is the ideal moment we want to end things on? And then I have the first session planned out. And then everything afterwards is just step by step, building along how they get to that end goal. But ultimately, the power is in their hands, right? Like, where they choose to go is like, oh, let's go this way instead of that way. And I can, It's so weird because I can, most of the time I could be like, okay, let me tell you exactly what happens. And then some other times, like a rare few moments, I have to stand there like an idiot being like, you know? So
actually, the dragon doesn't die yet.
actually, no, you don't. I think the best example of that was literally, let's rip back into the whole insect campaign again, Fields of Wrath. It was the final boss. It was like this mosquito queen taking over by like this cordyceps parasite that kind of evolved and infected a whole tribe of mosquitoes and ants. And it was like this whole hive queen boss fight. I had it all set up too. Okay. First turn of combat, a whole kind of fire wave went out, and it killed one of the players like full on. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be a tough fight. And then it becomes their turn. One of them has this mech because they're an artificer, and they one-shot my boss, and I'm standing there like, what the fuck? Why did I make their HP so
Holy
low?
Shit, Optimus Prime just stepped on my boss.
And I think at that point, that was my one rare moment where I was like, yeah, and just completely brain fogged. Because it was a combination of things. I was mainly done with that setting, so I was like, yeah, you kill him. You know?
Fair.
But it was also just me not expecting it.
Yeah.
And I could have probably cheesed the hit points somewhere, but at that point, I felt like it would have been dishonest. I hear people...
I will say, I have done that for bosses. If I feel like it was too easy to get them to 0, I will cheese and be like, scribble out the 0, 100.
That's not saying
just because I want, when I do boss fights, I want it to be challenging, and my goal is for the players to succeed. But for a boss fight, I want it to be difficult for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if they've killed it in like a round or two, I do go maybe a little more hit points, maybe, or sometimes I just don't even adjust hit points, and I'm like, all right, you've all done a cool thing, it's dead now.
I've heard people doing that, yeah. And it's not saying I've never done that. I think it's a bit of a difference for me when I go like, oh, they brought him down way too low. Let me just add one more digit in there. From what was happening at the time where I had like a set amount of hit points, they brought him down so much. And I looked down at the sheet and I was like, oh, that's everything. That is just everything. And I was just standing there, and then like in a moment of like just defeat, I was like, fine. You win.
Fine. End the campaign.
Do it. Let's
new setting. I don't want to be here
high
anymore.
Fantasy.
High fantasy. No more bugs.
I killed all your dads.
Your dads are dead.
Playing D&D is fun though, you know.
Playing D&D is fun.
It was really fun.
Playing D&D is fun.
Do you have a favorite D&D channel, or like some other like a favorite actual play that you have in mind?
A favorite actual play that I have in mind. Honestly, it's probably A Crown of Candy. I love A Crown of Candy.
That is my favorite too.
Dude, one of my favorite just D&D clips, period, full stop, is when Emily, after her first character died, she's coming playing this like cleric sorcerer multi-class, and it's like the only primary caster in the party.
Yeah.
And she does like on turn 1, she's like thunderstep, lightning bolt, you're dead, light the banner on fire, all your guys are fucking dead. I saved the guy you're trying to execute, and we're done here. And I was like, that is a spellcasting masterclass.
That is D&D. That's what it is. That's it.
That's what we live for.
Yeah, baby. But it's that part is also very bittersweet. You know, like Emily got to fucking pop off and do everything, and for the rest of the campaign, you know, Siobhan's character Ruby still kind of looks at her like, you know, you're not my real sister, and that's real.
Yeah,
Like that is
that is real.
It is like a very real thing that everyone has to go through at the table. It was one of the
Yeah.
that is like one of the Dimension 20 campaigns where I was like, oh, is this like a genuine conflict? And then you read about it afterwards and everyone was still chummy with each other. But that just goes to show how fucking great everyone is, you know?
Yeah. I love Dimension 20. But that the Crown of Candy is by far and away my favorite actual play.
Mine top favorite is Crown of Candy. Second favorite is like a more I guess it's a more recent one. It's like one of the newest ones they have. Never Stop Blowing Up is like the funniest like actual play that I've ever watched.
Wasn't there that the like action movie
Yeah. It's the
actual play?
Yeah, it's the whole action movie setting where they use their own system based off kids on bikes. Which is like a really cool system that I haven't gotten to like run, but it's pretty cool. But
dude, Misfits and Magic using the kids on bike system is definitely my second favorite actual play.
Mm-hmm.
I love Misfits and Magic as well.
Abrea is a really good DM.
She is.
Yeah. My favorite moment in that is them finding the table where they can order all their food and Lou being like, McRib. It was the desperation in that man's voice. And then when he doesn't get it, it's like, fuck.
Dude, Whitney Jammer is like the best character in that.
Hey.
Like,
hey, ow.
Just the realest person.
The realest person to be sent to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
It reminded me
like all they want to do is play sports and give people nicknames and eat McRibs.
It somewhat reminded me of like what if an Australian went to Hogwarts, and that like it was just the most realist interpretation of what if someone actually goes to Hogwarts, but it's like a bunch of it's Australian stereotypes, but it's still done pretty well. It's just like, oh, you fucking twat. Oh yeah. I think the Fantasy High is like the first one I've ever watched, so that earns a, you know.
Fantasy High is also pretty good.
Yeah, that earns an honorable mention because that's like the first one they've done, and it's the only one they've done 3 seasons of.
It's true.
Yeah,
it is true.
I think the maximum any other one's got is 2 seasons. Well, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Fantasy High actually technically has like 4
because it has spin-offs.
Yeah,
it's got the drag queen one.
Dungeons and Drag Queens is a separate one from Fantasy High.
Yeah, but it's still set in the Fantasy High setting.
Is it?
It is.
Dungeons and Drag Queens is set in.
Yeah, literally frame 1. They're talking to Zelda from Fantasy High.
Oh, you're talking about the 7.
Oh, the 7. Shit.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's the one with Izzy Roland.
You right.
I was like, did I miss
I get
something?
confused. I get confused.
Hey, it's all good because they also.
You are correct.
I think they also have like. I don't think they're considered a drag queen. They could just be like, I don't know. Persephone Valentine. I don't know if they're in that category, but they play. Sam Nightingale. They play Sam Nightingale in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, Fantasy High technically has like 5 seasons because they have the 7, which is like all the maidens who got captured, and then they have Pirates of Leviathan with Matt Mercer.
Oh, they do have that one, don't they?
Matt Mercer.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah, he plays a like a weird rat dude who uses a giant mast as a weapon. Just
he's Gaston.
It's Gaston, baby. Let's go.
Dude, I can't wait for Gaston and his rat army to charge like the tower, and Adavest is just not there.
Do you have context as to what Gaston is?
No.
So
no, I don't.
In the very first iteration of Tales of Tempora, back when everything was a bit more, like basic and run of the mill, Cherry, the one who plays Saffron now, played a drow cleric named Mia. They went into the town to try and like spy on the local thieves guild, and they decided to use speak with animals to see if they could find any hidden passageway. And then impromptu, there was like this little sewer rat that came up and was like, "Hey, what's going on?" You know? And then birthed the little rat companion named Gaston.
Oh God.
Who they became Mia's emotional support rat, you know? And then
fair enough.
And then when we went into this and I was like trying to find a name for the rat guy, Cherry spat out Gaston, and I was like, fuck it. Hey, it's me.
Dude, I was so pissed that just that, not even that anything anyone did, just that to convince the rat to work, you had to tell them that it wasn't a job. Like, they would only do it if they thought they weren't actually working.
I didn't know what the fuck Gaston was when I was playing him at the moment. I was like, is he an anti-capitalist or is he just fucking lazy?
He's a communist is what he is. He wants to be paid without having to do actual work. He's a communist.
I don't know, because communism is like, you know, everyone is equal, right? But he doesn't.
It's shared wealth.
It's shared wealth.
Which means if someone else is working harder than me, they're still making the same amount of money as me.
Yeah, but Gaston doesn't even want to do a fucking thing. He doesn't want to lift a finger at all.
Yeah, what do you think communism turns into, Arthur? On paper, it's that person works harder than me and I get paid the same amount of them and they should be fine with it. In reality, it's people being like, I don't want to work, but I still want to get paid.
Welcome to Short Rest, the politics comp podcast.
Dude, I could rant about communism and how bad it is all day. Truly.
Die hard capitalist.
Not even, but if you wanted to do an entire episode of just me ranting about communism, we could. I could do that.
On an all-new Short Rest podcast. Okay, so the fucking problem with communism.
Listen, man, all I'm saying is that Metallica performed in Moscow and like 2 or 3 months later, the USSR collapsed. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Metallica was instrumental in the dismantling of the USSR.
Modern art was a CIA psyop during the Cold War. And I could prove it to you if I wanted to.
Yeah, we'll save that for another episode.
Okay. I could though.
We were slowly dipping into Joe Rogan territory there.
No, this is like an actual confirmed thing. I didn't make that. This isn't a conspiracy theory. That's real.
Really?
That is just real.
Goddamn.
Yeah. I can give you a brief summary. Basically, during the Cold War wasn't a normal war, it's a culture war. Mm-hmm. Where America wanted to have better culture than Russia wanted to have better culture than America.
Yeah.
So the battlefields were things like art and music and food and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's why this is a thing as well. During that time, the government started to fund jazz artists, which jazz was the spawn point of rock and roll, which was the spawn point of metal. And Metallica, a metal band, went to Moscow and performed, and a couple months later, the USSR collapsed. But so the government was funding stuff like this, mm-hmm. and they wanted to fund art as well. And the only type of art that existed in Russia at the time was realism.
Mm-hmm.
Was just people painting portraits of like famous people. That's all you could do as an artist in Russia.
Yeah.
That was what was popular. And so America wanted they didn't want to try and be better at realism than Russia was, because realistically, if we tried to, Russia would just be like, all right, here's a child, we're going to put a paintbrush in their hand, and they're going to paint for 18 hours a day for the rest of their fucking life.
Yeah.
Because that's just, they literally could have just done that. So, So the government ended up creating an organization. I forget what it was called, but they created an organization that was basically set up to give money to artists, specifically artists that were practicing abstract expressionism.
Mm-hmm.
And then people in Congress, I think it was, didn't like it and they voted against it. Mm-hmm. And so the government went, hey, CIA, here's a lump sum of money. Go fund artists. And so the CIA started paying artists that practiced abstract expressionism, like people like Jackson Pollock, whose art was supposed to signify how communism was better than capitalism, while he was actively being paid by capitalism to keep painting that art.
Mm-hmm.
So modern art was literally a CIA psyop, because the CIA funded a lot of artists with the sole goal of creating better art than Russia was at the time. That's real, and that's been proven. So fuck you and fuck Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
but no, that's a real thing that happened.
Yeah, and I think my favorite die is the D20. You know, I like how cylindrical.
All right, this is a D&D podcast.
What's your favorite dice?
What's
your favorite type of die?
You want to talk about 2014 versus 2024 rules?
No, because that could fill an hour. That could fill an hour.
I'll rant about Counterspell again. I'll do it.
I was literally gonna like
say the word.
I was gonna plan like a whole segment bit. You know, like I had like a bunch of ideas for like segments we could do on this podcast, and I was like, oh, one of them was like the name a difference between 2024 and 2014 that you like and don't like. You know, where we would ask people what they kind of like and don't like, and then as a bit, I would have said, yeah, I kind of like how they did 2024 Counterspell, and just wanted to see where you would go with it. I feel like
2024 Counterspell is objectively worse
go ahead.
than 2014.
Okay.
Listen, I understand the problems with 2014 Counterspell. Yep. It is my favorite. It's my favorite. 20 Counterspell is my favorite spell, and I believed it should have been nerfed. That's how problematic 2014 Counterspell was. Yeah. But they didn't need to make it unplayable. Like, it's objectively not playable anymore. Like when a motherfucker casts an Eldritch Blast, a cantrip, a level 0 spell, and I go counterspell, and I fail to counterspell it because you nat 20 your fucking save and throw.
Yep,
that's bullshit. That's unplayable.
That is the biggest problem. I can't. Yeah, with that
2024 counterspell cannot counter Prestidigitation. Does that make sense to you?
No.
Does that make it can't? It doesn't. You could potentially fail to counterspell Prestidigitation.
Yeah.
Or like an Eldritch Blast, or a Firebolt, or a Friends. Could you imagine? You go, I'm gonna counterspell Friends, and then they save on their saving throw, and you go, well, there's my 3rd level spell slot gone.
That is the funniest part about that new spell in the worst way possible.
Listen, I'm okay. I'm okay with it being a wisdom save. I could deal with that. I'm okay with you not being able to upcast it. I think that's fine as well. It heavily limits the amount of counter spells that can be going on, which I think is fine. But getting rid of the auto counter mechanic just means that you can't counter a cantrip. I'm sorry, but you can't. I'm gonna go. I cast Eldritch Blast. You're gonna say counterspell. I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna legendary resist it because I want to. Because fuck you, Bing Bong. Take these 4 Eldritch Blasts to the face.
We have talked about this, not on like the Lost episode, but we've talked about this with the other people in your group.
Yeah.
Didn't we come to like a compromise where like you can still have it as saving throw, but somehow keep the auto cancellation mechanic in there somehow?
Yeah. Yeah. Literally just do what I said. Just keep everything about the nerf except for the auto counter.
Yeah.
Leave the auto counter in. Make it so that you can't upcast it, so you can only use 3rd level spell slots, of which you get maximum 3. So it's maximum 3 counter spells per short or long rest, depending on what class you're playing and how you get your spells back.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And I think that would be fine, because the biggest problem that people have with counter spells is that if you have multiple spellcasters in the combat, that you just get into these like weird counterspell battles that bog down the game.
Right.
Like in Baldur's Gate, if I cast a spell, Cole can cast Counterspell. And then I can in response cast Counterspell, and then Taylor could also in response cast Counterspell. And then it's like, all right, Taylor has to roll for their Counterspell. If they fail, I now have to roll for my Counterspell. If I fail, Cole now has to roll for their Counterspell. If they fail, then my spell goes off anyways, and we've just spent 3 minutes rolling Counterspell checks for no reason. You know, like, so I understand why people don't like that, because it does bog down the game a lot in a portion of the game that does genuinely take the most time. Like, combat doesn't go quickly. You could be there for an hour and only play 2 rounds of combat if you have enough things going on.
Yeah.
And so that's why people don't like the way the counterspell works. And I agree. From a dungeon master's perspective, I agree. I don't give my enemies counterspell anymore because it's just not worth it, and it'll just bog down the game. Like at the end of the day, I like my counterspell A probably isn't going to succeed, and B it's just going to cost us more time. So I'm okay with a counterspell nerf, but I'm not okay with not being able to counter a cantrip because they have a fucking +7 to their saving throw for the fucking whatever it would be. Just fucking let me auto counter it. Fucking spell. Even if it's not like auto counter for things of equal level or below, if it's just thing auto counter for things below, I'd still take it.
Mm-hmm.
Like sure, your third level fireball I'd have to roll for it, but second level, first level, and cantrip spells I auto counter. I'd take it, and I could only do it 3 times per short or long rest. I'd fucking be happy with that.
That's ideal. The ideal counterspell.
It would. That is, I think, the ideal counterspell.
Was
now, do I know it is? No, because I've never played with it like that.
yeah.
But do I think that would be a lot better than 2014 and a lot better than 2024? I think so.
After all that, I think so. You know, it's just what I think.
I think it would be. It is just what I think, but I also happen to think that I'm objectively correct.
Awesome. Yeah. We got there in the end.
Yeah.
We got there in the end. Fucking awesome.
I also don't like that they nerfed Abjuration Wizard slightly. Abjuration Wizard was my favorite class / subclass to play.
I'm not.
And they nerfed it slightly.
I'm not familiar with how they nerfed it.
So 2014 Abjuration Wizard, the Arcane Ward ability has a thing that says when you cast a Abjuration spell of first level or higher, you regain amount of hit points to your Arcane Ward equal to its level. So if you cast a level 1 Abjuration spell, you gain 1 hit point back to your Arcane Ward.
Mm-hmm.
But what people would do with that is they would either multi-class into Warlock until they get Eldritch Invocations, or take the Eldritch Adept feat to get the Armor of Shadows Eldritch Invocation, which allows you to cast the Mage Armor spell without expending a spell slot.
Mm-hmm.
And so after combats, you could just, as an Abjuration Wizard, spam cast Mage Armor to regain all the hit points back to your Arcane Ward.
Shit.
Yeah, which like which really isn't that many hit points at 20th level. That's maximum 45 hit points to your Arcane Ward.
Oh, yeah.
Which is still like meaningful, but that's like a high level fireball.
Mm-hmm.
Like those hit points could still disappear quickly. So I didn't think it was that, me personally, I didn't think it was that big of a problem.
Right.
But in 2024 Abjuration Wizard, they reworded that part of the ability to say whenever you cast a first level Abjuration spell and expend a spell slot, then it happens. And so because with the Armor of Shadows thing, you're not technically expending a spell slot, you're casting it specifically without expending a spell slot. It doesn't trigger the ability, and you don't regain the hit points to your Arcane Ward. Which doesn't matter in combat. All it does is change the fact is like you can't autofill your Arcane Ward outside of combat.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't think it was a problem being able to do that, but I guess Wizards did and they nerfed it.
That's weird though, because that locks you out of like, because some items give you first level spells, so that kind of locks you out.
Yeah, so that is like, oh, my item gives me the shield spell, but so I cast shield and then I don't regain hit points to my Arcane Ward.
Yeah.
Great. Hooray.
I mean, that kind of gets circumvented depending on who you play with. I know some people that allow you to like, oh, you can spend a spell slot if your item has the magical spell on it, but not many people run with that, so it's like, oh, okay. So that just did nothing for me then, other than what I casted for. Which for some people that might be fine, but that's just a weird, like...
And then...
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they had to... So our Abjuration Wizard also had an ability that said, if you were... Like, for Counterspell and Dispel Magic checks, you were considered proficient with those checks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not an ability anymore, because Counterspell and Dispel Magic don't require you to make checks. It requires the target to make a saving throw.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that ability's just gone now. Because there's literally no spell that requires you to make... No Abjuration spell that requires you to make a check like that anymore.
And that made so much sense.
Yeah, you're an Abjuration Wizard. Your entire thing is protection magic. What's more protective than negating a spell?
And then they just completely changed the... Like, the way that works. Which is...
Yeah.
Which is fun.
now instead it does auto give you counterspell and dispel magic,
Mm-hmm.
and it lets you cast dispel magic as a bonus action, but counterspell just isn't worth casting in my opinion the way it is right now. Like I'd rather
Yeah.
save my reaction to cast like shield or absorb elements or silvery barbs or something like that
Mm-hmm.
than to cast counterspell that will probably fail.
My only big thing with 2024, the 2024 classes is how they made paladins the horse class and they made rangers the hunter's mark class. In a
Dude, I don't even. Oh my god, I had such high hopes. I thought Ranger was finally gonna be its own thing instead of just being a shittier rogue.
and then
But they fucked it up again.
I mean, it's no longer a shittier rogue, but now it's just a shitty build based on a
Now it's
one.
just shitty.
Now it's just shitty.
It's just shitty.
Built around a single spell. Or
Yeah.
a single
Now
ability.
it kind of just is a class with no identity, in my opinion. Like it's just sort of there.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy how they went about it because all they did was like remove features and tell you to take specific options if you want to have access to those features.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was not good and it doesn't seem fun. And it is supposed to be like the hunter's mark class, but you get so few abilities that actually care about your hunter's mark.
Yeah. And
Like you get like
you know what a WoW
what?
thing is though? I don't even think Ranger's that bad of a class. I don't think it's
No, it just doesn't seem. I don't think it's that bad of a class. I just don't think it's fun to play. It doesn't seem fun to play from reading it.
I think the main like thing that kind of takes people off of playing the Ranger class is like, oh, well, I kind of have to build my character based on a certain speciality, right? Like a certain environment and stuff, you know, because that's a hard choice that they make you do in character creation, and it really
Yeah,
that depends a whole lot on like communicating with your DM and stuff like that. But campaigns can go
yeah.
everywhere.
But they fixed that with Tasha's.
Yeah.
With Tasha's, it changes that to be different,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to rely on your DM being kind to you and putting you in your favorite terrain and throwing your favorite enemy creature type at you.
Uh-huh.
And then they got rid of a bunch of the Tasha shit that was good.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at it right now. At level 1, you get the Hunter's Mark ability, and then from the base class, you don't get anything else related to your Hunter's Mark until level 13.
Which is that is insane.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the subclasses, but I'm hoping you get at least something from the subclasses sooner.
You know the
Yeah, Fey one or Beastmaster, you get a Hunter's Mark thing at level 11, so that's still a 10 level difference before you get another Hunter's Mark thing if you're a Beastmaster.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Fey Wanderer, you get nothing that cares about your Hunter's Mark. If you're a Gloomstalker, you get nothing that cares about your Hunter's Mark. And if you're a hunter, you get a thing at level 3 if you're a hunter specifically in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing at level 11. So base class, you don't get anything until base class level 1, you get a hunter's mark feature, and then you don't get another one until level 13. If you're a Beastmaster, the sooner you'll get one at level 11. If you're a Fey Wanderer, you're stuck with the base class. If you're Gloomstalker, you're stuck with the base class. And if you want your Hunter's Mark to be decent, you'll have to pick Hunter.
Yeah. It's
so it's really not even the Hunter's Mark class either.
It's
just
it's a class that's there.
I don't even know what it
is.
It's
there.
It's there. Honestly, I would rather play 2014 Ranger with the Tasha's features, because at least then my class has somewhat of an identity. I feel like.
I don't know.
But
I'm just in the ballpark of like
Ranger.
You know, Rangers had like that big, you know, like stigma that hovered over them as just being a budget rogue. When I think in my opinion,
I had fun with 2014 Ranger.
In my opinion, it was Gloomstalker that solidified that. But if you look at any other type of subclass, you know, it's a lot more than just a budget rogue.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, my very first character I ever played was a ranger. It was a hunter ranger.
Mm-hmm.
and it was very fun, and I loved him.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, so and I had fun because I was playing a class that had an identity.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great identity, but it had one. I had my own role within the party somewhat.
And
This ranger says if you want to have that identity back, you got to take X, Y, and Z specific features instead of being able to have that identity and be able to customize this class however you want.
you gotta,
Because it is like because in the patch notes they released when they released the final version of the class, they were like, hey, this feature is gone, but if you want to have this feature, take this option instead of picking what you want. They did that multiple times.
Yeah. God, I don't know. But the one thing I do like from 2024 is that you can smite with punches.
You can do that. I mostly like 2024. There's a couple things I dislike about 2024, like Counterspell, Ranger, nerfing, Divine Smite for Paladin. But those are really like the only things I can name that I don't like. Everything else I love. Like, I love what they did to Sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
Sorcerer is great now.
2024 is like, it's not a bad system, but it feels more so like an update to 5e, which is what...
That's what it was meant to be.
Yeah. And I still think that's what people are mostly upset about when it was like, what did you expect? The whole thing was
yeah.
The whole thing was built off Baldur's Gate. That became such a huge hit. They brought Baldur's Gate into fucking D&D, and it wasn't even it wasn't even the worst thing, you know? Like it's still 90% the same thing. They just fucked up a lot of shit, like they usually do.
Yeah, like they usually do.
Yeah.
They usually do. But I'm like 95% satisfied with 2024. Just that small 5% that I'm irked by. But other than that, I'm very excited to keep playing with 2024. I say that I did for Horizons when we're using 2024 rules. I did pick a class that is not in 2024.
Yeah, you specifically deviated and went, I'm just going to be a whole new class called Illrigger.
In my defense, you approved the class.
I did.
You said yes.
Yeah.
and also Illrigger had just come out, and it was like recency bias. I was really excited for it, and I still am.
Do you like playing?
It was just the most recent thing that I was interested in.
You like playing Illrigger so far?
I do. I haven't actually really gotten to use any of my features that much, but I do like playing it.
I think you like playing Bellamy.
I do like playing Bellamy. I used my interdeck boon thing where I placed a seal on a Mephit and then I died and lost the seal because I was incapacitated, so it goes away.
That's how the game goes.
But I am excited. Next combat, I'll be able to show off.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because at level 2, I got a feature that let me, whenever I make a saving throw, I get +1 for each hostile within 5 feet of me. Up to a maximum of 5, so I could potentially have a +5 to all my saving throws.
You heard it here. Next session of Horizons, they're gonna fight a dragon.
Wait. Hold up. That's only if it's one dragon, that's only a +1. First of all,
2 dragons.
2 dragons. All right, I'm in.
All right, let's do it. I think that's.
I'm in.
I think that's all we got for short rest. We hit a reasonable hour. To end it off, I had a...
You want to talk about communism again?
No. We end the podcast at 2 a.m. because you're unveiling your whole corkboard.
You haven't even heard my analogy of how communism is like a fucking roundabout.
Jesus. Let's end it off with
They're the same thing.
Let me just ask you, do you have a favorite dice set that you own?
No, I don't.
Really?
I have the dice tray I have it can fit 5 sets, so I just keep the 5 sets I like the most at the time in the tray.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm constantly swapping out which ones I like the most.
So
I'm a fickle man.
You've never had that like moment where you're like, oh, this is the set, you know?
No, I haven't had the moment where this is the set.
Right.
Also, because if the set rolls badly for me too many times, I throw it in the bag and grab a new set.
I throw it in the trash.
I put it in jail. I frame it for murder so that the dice set gets sent to jail. Not dice jail, real jail.
I call it a communist sympathizer and throw it in jail. All right.
You rolled poorly, therefore you believe in communism.
All right. Thank you for joining me for about an hour and a half.
Absolutely.
Yeah.